Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not your slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not your slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
For your patience, we also want to apologize for bringing a Global Morning this Tuesday a bit behind schedule. We sincerely apologize. It was occasioned by some technical challenges that have now been resolved. It's Tuesday, 11th of June 2024, second, as it were, installment of the program this week. Queen Agaba, by the way, is on the show. My name is Simeon Uyag-Mofewe.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the program this morning.
Yeah, right. Incidentally, our conversations continue today. No doubt about that, because of where we are as a country right now. Nigeria is quite a challenged country, economically, politically, socially, and in every other area. You know, yesterday I was looking at something about the minimum wage conversation, right? Of course, the debate is on, but something a bit of a relief did come through. You know, there had been speculations that given that by yesterday or by midnight, this last midnight, the 1 week window that was given by the organized labor to the tripartite committee would have closed or elapsed. And then people on the basis of that had speculated that there would be a strike starting this morning. But Labour came out yesterday to officially say that there was no intention to embark on any strike. However, we're waiting for two things to happen. One, for the president to give a nod, all right, to the 250,000 naira that they are now demanding, and second, for the governors to fall in line, so to speak. Of course, we understand none of those have happened just yet, but the good thing is people can go about their business, no strike as of today. We've not heard no word about that, which is good. However, it still doesn't change the fact that we must find closure to the conversation around the minimum wage. The question of whether or not the federal government will accept 250,000 naira, I mean, that demand from labor is on the table. The fact that the labor itself, the organized labor, that is, has also said we are neither going to accept 62,000 naira, nor 100,000 naira, brings another layer to that debate. Because if the federal government says we can't pay 250,000 naira, because we've even heard some people in government, and most of them appointed, saying, I can't pay my driver 250,000 naira. I can't pay my gardener or my help 250,000 naira. That's the message they're sending. On the other hand, the question is, what happens since Labour has insisted that they are neither going to collect or accept 62,000 naira nor 100,000 naira. So what do you think we should peg these so we can meet in the middle, as they say?
The federal government, first of all, we know that for them to have bargained from 40,000 naira, 47,000 naira to
all the way to 62,
all the way to 62, it shows that they most likely wouldn't go anywhere further than 100,000 naira, most likely. And then I believe that the Labour is trying to be strategic so that we can be at a fair bargain for the Nigerian workers. And so, you know, they started with 500,000 naira, for almost 500,000 naira thereabouts, which for some people is
1 million,
which for some people which for some people is unrealistic, because yes, you are asking the federal government to pay minimum wage of, you know, such amount of money.
Yes.
And then, but other analysts have come to say, you know, the Labour is trying to be strategic so that they can be at a very fair bargain. Worst comes to worst, there's something sustainable or substantial for the Nigerian workers. But the federal government is not even playing in that line at all with, you know, how much they've been proposing and sitting on that has resulted to an initial strike of almost, you know, 42 hours, 24 hours plus. And now there's still no resolution yet. We don't know what would happen, you know, moving forward. But we're looking, and like the Labour said, we're waiting to hear from the Mr. President, possibly, you know, get at a balance so that, you know, things can move forward.
But I'll tell you what also gives Nigerians concern, Queen, well, myself inclusive, because I'm first a Nigerian before I'm a broadcast journalist, is the fact that Labour is also saying, beyond whether or not federal government comes to dialogue over this minimum wage issue, electricity tariff hike must be reversed to where it was. Where was it? That's the question. It was 66 naira per kilowatt hour, but now we're hearing something in excess of 200 naira. So Labour is saying we've got to go back to, return to status quo. Again, that's going to introduce another strand to this conversation, because Labour is saying that will sap workers of whatever you're paying them first. Let's not even go to areas, things like food items and other essentials that will naturally scream for your money and things like that. So it means that this is not just a matter of saying, let's quickly see what we can do so that we can stave off any possibility of a strike action or something. I think it's more about let's find a sustainable, long-lasting solution to the issue of dispute between Labour and the federal government. Because the federal government had tried to pull off a few stunts, so to speak, here and there. For example, there was the issue of the strike, the last one being illegal. That was again coming from the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, who happens to also be the Minister of Justice on behalf of the federal government. That didn't work. And then some people say, well, Labour tried to sabotage the economy, shutting down the national grid and blah, 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 blah. I think the government has to be sincere about this conversation, because we're also hearing some people in government, not the president, some people around him, saying, well, it wasn't the Tinubu administration that got us to where we are today, so Labour should not come and keep pressing the president's neck unnecessarily and so on and so forth. But the same politicians are the ones that have told us right from when I was a child that government is a continuum. Now, that's a Latin word. What it does mean is that government is uninterrupted. It just goes on. So Queen does 4 years or 8 years, as the case may be. She lives there. Oyi comes on and takes over. So all of Queen's assets, all of the assets and liabilities of the government under Queen's administration are by default transferred to Oyi's government. That's the way it works. So you can't be telling Nigerians now that, look, well, we are not the ones who got Nigeria to where it is today. But the same government has continued prosecuting some persons who had been accused of some crimes some 10, 15 years ago. So why don't you say, let's ditch all of those cases? After all, it wasn't our administration that initiated them in the first instance and things like that. Now, what's the long and short of the story? It is the fact that government has got to take responsibility and say, look, let the commitments that we have to governance reflect in how we treat our workers. I think that should be the baseline first. And then we jack it up a little from that point, a notch after a notch, and then we're having conversations around other things. For example, how do people commute to work? How do you work at Mabushi in Abuja, for those who live in the nation's capital, and you're coming from Gwagwalada 5 days a week? How do we factor that into whatever it is government is paying you? Of course, we know government is also concerned about, yes, this is not just about the minimum wage. How do we factor it into the so-called consequential adjustments? How do we reflect it in what we pay pensioners and stuff like that? But you see, Governments must realize that it has a lot of work to do. Long and short of it all is that the president has made it clear time and again that prior to becoming the president, he knew the weight of work, the burden of responsibility he would have to take on, that nothing surprises him. And he also shared that with his cabinet members. So I think that this labor issue is what science students will call it litmus test for this government.
Absolutely. But the question now we should be asking, is the government ready? Is the government ready to ensure that the governance they're giving out is fair on the people, like you mentioned, to see that Nigerians are treated fairly? You know, let's ask ourselves, what is this government depicting? First of all, I was privileged to speak to a couple of Nigerians. You know, most of people say, we talk about democracy, we're talking about the dividends of democracy. Are we enjoying the dividends of democracy? What do we expect from, you know, such the outcomes, you know, here and there, local government elections down to state government elections and elections generally, that all of the elections are marred with irregularity. So where is the democracy? Where is the democratic process there? So what are you expecting from such process that has been marred? Then there you have it. There will be unfair treatment to the people. And this is what we're seeing right now. Take it from me. We're not enjoying good roads. We're not enjoying electricity. Electricity tariff is on a zero, on a high, I beg your pardon. Electricity in Nigeria is on a zero. And then most people, their complaints are that they don't have lights. They bring lights, they build houses and they bring lights to their houses, which is supposed to be the work of the government. So you see that when we don't enjoy the benefits of democracy, the question we are asking is, can our government be fair? Can we get fair treatment from the government? But the answers we're getting is, how can you expect fair treatment from a process that was unfair?
Again, that's something that requires you to take a deep breath, and then hopefully you are able to find a way to process it and maybe find an outcome in the final analysis. But you see, process matters, and that's why people say believe in the process, because it's critical, it's fundamental, all right? However, the sad thing is we live in a system where we say the end justifies the means. So we really don't care much about what we do, no values, no conviction, no persuasion. We just want to get the result, and that ends it all. But we'll continue to drive this narrative until Nigeria becomes a better place for all to live in. We're taking a quick break now so we can join Fatima Umar to bring you taste and texture.
Chapatis are made using a soft dough with comprising flour. Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of Taste and Texture. I'm Fatima Abba Umar. Today we'll be making a unique recipe, chapati and curry chicken. Chapati, also known as roti, is a type of unleavened flatbread originating from the Indian subcontinent. It is made from whole wheat flour and is a staple in many households. Here's a simple recipe to make chapati at home. The ingredients needed for chapatis are 7 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of oil, 8-gram butter, 1 tablespoon sugar, 3 to 4 cups of warm water, adjust as needed. And for the curry chicken, onions, garlic, curry, oil, chicken breast, black pepper, cream, and salt. And now let's get busy and make it. In a large mixing bowl, combine the flour and salt, sugar and butter, and mix well to combine. Gradually add water to the flour mixture, mixing with your hand or a spoon until the dough starts to come together. Knead the dough for about 10 minutes until it is smooth and elastic. The dough should not be too sticky or dry. Adjust the water or flour as needed. Cover the dough with a damp cloth and let it to rest for at least an hour. After resting, divide the dough into equal sizes, about the size of a golf ball. This recipe should make approximately 10 to 12 chapatis. Lightly dust a rolling surface and a rolling pin with flour. Take one dough of ball and flatten it slightly with your fingers. Dust it with a little flour to prevent sticking. Roll the dough ball into a thin round disc about 6 to 8 inches in diameter. You can measure it the way you like. Add a little butter to it. Roll and flatten it with a rolling pin. Try to keep the thickness even throughout. Let it not differ. Heat a frying pan or a flat skillet over medium-high heat until it is hot. Place the rolled out rotis on it and spread some butter on it and flip on both sides. Press the chapati gently with a cloth or spatula to help it puff up. Flip it again if needed, ensuring both sides are cooked well and have a golden brown spot. Remove the chapati from the pan and place it in a container lined with a clean cloth. Cover it and keep it warm. Repeat the process for the remaining doubles. Chapatis are best enjoyed fresh and warm, served with curries, vegetables, and any sauce of your choice, or lentils. They are versatile and can be paired with almost any dish. Enjoy your homemade chapatis. Let's make the chicken curry. In a frying pan, place a little oil and add some chopped onions, chopped garlic, a pinch of salt, and some ground black pepper. Cook all ingredients, allow it to heat while stirring continuously. After 5 minutes, add tomato sauce and some curry powder and continue stirring and cook for another 5 minutes. Cut into small bits the chicken breast and season it. Now add the chicken breast to the ingredients. Continue to stir so it mixes with all other ingredients. Cook for an additional 2 minutes over high heat. And now add the cream to it, which gives it a creamy touch. Stir to mix all ingredients together. Now cook for 5 minutes over low heat. And now the chicken curry is done and ready to be served and enjoyed. Enjoy your chapati and curry chicken alongside a chilled glass of fresh juice or water. Bon appetit. That's all for now. Bye.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're
Thank you, Fatima Umar, for that breakfast idea there. But then we have a second conversation in front of us this morning, which is by extension a continuation of our conversation around the June 12th commemoration. This is 31 years by tomorrow officially, but then we started talking about it yesterday. And we realized that there are several elements in this narrative because of how the June 12 factor has shaped Nigeria's democracy queen in the last 3 decades. And then you also find that Nigeria may have moved away from the military days. Nigeria may now be under civil rule, or what they call civilian administration. But then there are still factors around whether or not the rule of law has been entrenched as properly as it should be. Whether or not, like you mentioned a while ago, just before we hit that break, Nigerians are enjoying the dividends of democracy. Do they even know what it means in practical terms? right? There are still concerns around basic amenity, transparency, accountability, probity. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. But then there are those who also say we need to find consolidation at some point. After all, we are no longer at the same point today as we were some 25, 26 years ago. I mean, you have also experienced democracy for some time now. Given what you have heard about military days and what you know today, what do you think could be really the difference between, I mean, beyond the khaki and the agbada factors?
Yes, but you know, now we enjoy freedom of speech.
Even though there is libel.
Even though there is. But as the military era, you couldn't. Whatever was made to be was made that way, without there was no sort of opposition, a debate about it. It is what it is from, you know,
no public hearing.
no public hearing for the government of the day. But whether or not we're in the military or civil rule, the question is, there's always a question. We say there's democracy now. We're not in the military era. I think the only thing that was differentiating the military era from the civil rule is the fact that we know that it is not a military era, it's a civilian rule.
Right.
And when we say democracy, there are dividends. If those dividends are not there, there's no democracy. Take, for instance, what are the dividends of democracy? We should be able to see strategic growth, owing to the fact that we're a democratic nation. Since everyone can air their opinions, since there's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of, you know, living, we have a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Are we seeing this? Are this government for the people? Actually, that's the question we should be asking now. Is the government for the people? Because if we have a government that is coming from us, with us, working for us, then things should be working fairly for us. We should not be, at this point in time, talking about electricity tariff in the manner at which we're talking about it now. We should not be talking about dollarization of the economy, how the economy is, you know, is in severe damage and all of that at this point in time. We understand that the administration is working. There should be no blame game because government is continuous. So we shouldn't be talking about, oh, the past administration did this. I inherited this problem from the past administration. It's not my problem. Yes. We shouldn't have a government that at the end of the day is isolated. And for the most of it, I'm sorry, but I have to say it, we even have an administration that is coming from the same party as the last administration that we've had. So we shouldn't even be talking about blame games here. The interest of the people should be at the fore. But is it at the fore? When we say the interest of the people should be at the fore, yes, when this administration was coming into power, we heard, oh, we didn't hear much of the blame game. In fact, this administration was in support of the previous administration, you know, saying that they're working to make things better for Nigerians. But now, is that the case? We understand that the president is working, but let us not go into, but what I'm saying in essence is we should not be having blame games. If the people truly was at the fore, whatever a person does, the other person coming into office, the other administration or the other government coming into office would continue from there. And this brings me to reiterate what I said earlier last week, that a lot of the time when we see these things, we see governments make projects just because they want to make projects, just because they want something attributed to their name, whether it is short-term or short-lived. If we say government is continuous, then I should be able to, if you're succeeding me, I should be able to start a project and know that you will come in and succeed that project as well and continue with that project so that it is long-term, it is long-lasting. I may start a project that may not, you know, may not see the light of the day within my tenure. Maybe 4 years, 8 years, it might not come to fruition categorically. But knowing that we are working for the people, you coming into office would oversee that project. I don't know if you understand.
So that it doesn't become abandoned somewhere in the middle.
It doesn't become abandoned somewhere in the middle and see that. But no, what we want, we'd rather go for something short-term.
So we can take glory.
So we can take glory
to campaign for the next
the next election. This is in my name. Whether or not that project is sustainable, whether or not that project meets the needs of the people, whether or not that project is long-term. But it's a project that maybe looks ambiguous. And that is why we have people use counterfeit products. You see a building, a structure, maybe for a school, and in the next 1 year or 6 months, that building, it starts to cave in, starts to collapse, starts to dilapidate. So the question and what is focal is the people.
I think that's a beautiful place to live. What is focal is the people.
Exactly.
So if our thinking revolves around the people, that will naturally create a compulsion for us to work for the people. All right, so let's take a break for the people, everyone. All right, so we just want to bring you a snapshot of business put together by Kikeloma Okiri.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. The euro slid against the naira in the official market on Monday after French President Emmanuel Macron called a snap election following a defeat in the European Union vote by the far right. Recent price action revealed that the euro is now losing major support against the naira currency, leading to euro versus naira price to lean bearish. Growing ambiguity surrounding the upcoming French snap election is affecting the euro. The naira strengthened below 1,600 naira to euro level in the black market as traders reevaluate and moderate demand pressure on the euro currency. It closed above 1,631 naira to euro on Friday. The dollar also shows strength against the euro currency due to the geopolitical implication of the far-right grip on power in euro. Additionally, the dollar outlook is favorable as summer draws near. The euro is predicted to break above 1.10 against the dollar and is more likely to drop below 1.05 support level. The euro plummeted to a 21-month low of $1.05 in early morning London trading and dropped 50 basis points to a 1-month low. Geregu Power PLC has forecasted a profit after tax of 9.9 billion naira for the third quarter of 2024, representing a 148% year-on-year increase from the 3.98 billion naira net income posted in the third quarter of 2023. According to the company's cash flow forecast for third quarter 2024, it is projecting a revenue of 42.5 billion naira during the quarter, representing a 102% year-on-year growth from the 21.05 billion naira revenue posted the third quarter of 2023. This projected revenue growth stemmed from an anticipated cash receipt of 15.8 billion naira from the energy and capacity charges during the quarter. For proper context, throughout 2023, the company posted a total receipt of 31.1 billion naira from capacity charges. The company anticipates a 101% year-on-year increase in cost of sales to 21.9 billion naira from 10.3 billion naira in the third quarter of 2023. For Geregu Power, the major contributor to its cost of sales is LNG supply and transportation. The value of Nigerian crude oil export earning increased by 50.2% in the first quarter of 2024 to 15.4 trillion naira, according to data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. The earning quoted in naira showed a rise from 10.3 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2023 to 15.4 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024. During the same period, the data highlighted that 88% of Nigerians' exports to other nations were earning from crude oil, emphasizing once again the predominant role of oil as the primary exported commodity and main source of foreign exchange for the country. Furthermore, in 1 year, the value of crude oil export surged by 200.79% from 5.1 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2023. The total exports of Nigeria in the first quarter of 2024 rose by 51% to 19.1 trillion naira compared to the 12.
And around the world to the News AM and the Global Television. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. The organized labor says it will not accept a 62,000 naira or 100,000 naira starvation wage as the minimum wage for Nigerian workers. It insisted on 250,000 naira being its latest demand at the last meeting of the Tripartite Committee on minimum wage as the living wage for an average Nigerian worker. This was made known by Chris Onyeka, Assistant General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, who said the one-week grace period given to the federal government last Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, would expire by midnight of Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. The federal government says this year's Democracy Day celebration will kick off with a symposium on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. A statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Abdul Hakim Adeoye, noted that the symposium is scheduled to hold at the State House Conference Center inside the presidential villa. Nigerians have called on the federal government to adopt bold strategies in providing democratic benefits. Global Television interviewed citizens on the forthcoming Democracy Day reports that Nigerians expressed mixed reaction over the system. Global Television brings you details. Since gaining independence, Nigeria has seen a journey filled with challenges and triumphs in its democratic process. Speaking on the dividends of democracy, Nigerians lament the harsh reality.
I think the government should look into some major sector which will affect the ordinary Nigerians' life. You know, people are really suffering, and we need a listening government that can put his or herself in the shoes of the ordinary Nigerians.
This regime is somehow. We don't have. There's no dividends. There's nothing we can show off that. Okay, this democracy, this regime, we have. I think there is at least there is a bit better than the former. There is hunger in the land. 1, 2. You can't even voice out anything. There's nothing you can voice out concerning this regime.
Thank God for democracy, but are we really enjoying dividends of democracy? The answer is no. What are the evidence of democracy? Good governance, good policy, access to education, infrastructure, the basic social amenities. Are any of them available? Electricity zero, road network, people are building roads for themselves. So where is the evidence of democracy?
While it is clear that there's hope and belief in the principles of democracy, some say there are still significant challenges that need to be addressed.
I would like to advise Mr. President to be radical in his approach in the delivery of democratic dividends, particularly to the downtrodden. You know, the hardship is much in the land. So I want Mr. President to put more effort in areas of food security particularly.
Speaking on democracy and the gains recorded so far, Nigerians have called on the federal government to be radical in its approach in the delivery of democratic dividends and to focus on critical sectors that will help mitigate the effect of the current hardship experienced.
The correspondent chapel of the Kano State Council of the Nigerian Union of Journalists has decided to boycott all activities related to the Kano State government. This was contained in a statement issued by Aminu Garuko, who is the chairman of Correspondence Chapel of the Union in Kano State. The decision was reportedly taken in response to the alleged persistent and unacceptable maltreatment of members of the chapel in the state by the government and its agents while discharging their primary assignment. The House of Representatives has proposed to make a single tenure of 6 years for presidents and governors and also moved to create the office of 2 vice presidents from the southern and northern parts of Nigeria. The 6 bills, which have passed through the first reading on the floor of the House, are sponsored by 35 members of the Green Chambers. Speaking to a journalist during a press conference in Abuja, the spokesperson of the 35 lawmakers, Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, representing Idiato North-South Federal Constituency, said the bills, if passed into law, will reduce government spending and wastage, efficiency in governance, and national stability by providing a single term of 6 years for the president and governors. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted sunny and cloudy weather activities from Monday to Wednesday across the country. The agency's weather outlook released in Abuja predicted Sunday skies over the northern region on Monday throughout the forecast period. It states that sunny conditions with patches of clouds are expected over the north-central region throughout the forecast period. The National Board for Technical Education has introduced a mandatory skills qualification as a graduation requirement for all newly reviewed national diploma and higher national diploma curricula. The board says the introduction is in line with global trends, especially as skill acquisition is now central to the training of youth in polytechnics. This is disclosed in a statement by the board's head of media, Hajia Fatima Abubakar, in Abuja. Abubakar says diploma holders will now graduate with a national skills qualification or its equivalent as an additional certification. The Northern Elders Forum has called on the federal government to set up a national pastoralist commission to protect the interests of Nigerian herdsmen. A statement issued by its Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Abdulaziz Suleiman, says the forum expressed its position while contributing to the ongoing debate on the proposed law to phase out open grazing and establish ranching agencies, legislation that sparked conflicting views among stakeholders in the country. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has underscored the importance of professionalism and competence among election personnel for the success of elections. Yakubu conveyed this in an address honoring the former Director General of the Electoral Institute, the late Professor Abubakar Momo, in Abuja, ahead of the Edo and Ondo off-cycle governorship elections, scheduled for September 21st and November 16th, 2024, respectively. The INEC chairman noted that professionalism is essential for maintaining the integrity of the democratic process and ensuring voter confidence, which in turn affects voter participation and turnout. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command, in a joint operation with other security forces, raided kidnappers' camps on the borders of Abuja. The command spokesperson, SP Josephine Ade, disclosed this in a statement posted on X. The statement says the operatives of the FCT Police Command, in synergy with the Special Forces of Guards Brigade and DSS Hunters, in a continued effort against criminality in FCT, on June 7, 2024, stormed some identified kidnappers' camp at Gidandogo and Kweti Forest, Kaduna State, bordering FCT, trailed and arrested 4 suspects. The statement noted that the suspects confessed to being members of a notorious bandit syndicate with the name May 1 Million. The federal government has threatened to go after the management of any hospital that refused to attend to patients rushed into the facilities in an emergency. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, gave the warning at the Unlock Grants Award ceremony in Abuja. The growing concerns compelled the House of Representatives earlier this year to task the Federal Ministry of Health to take decisive actions against hospitals and healthcare facilities that refuse to treat accident or gunshot patients without a police report. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang has announced the lifting of the curfew imposed on the Mangu local government area of the state in January. The governor had imposed a 24-hour curfew on the Mangu local government area after some bandits invaded the Pushit and Sabongari communities and killed 13 persons. Some residents were equally injured while several houses were burnt during the attack. Amnesty International has put together a detailed report on the girls failed by authorities after escaping the Boko Haram captivity. The report, which entailed a lot of research and various interviews of about 120 persons, captures the lives of the girls and the situations of inadequate support and further sufferings as they attempt to rebuild their lives. Sharon Ajay has details.
Amnesty International is aimed at exposing injustice and seeking justice for what women go through in the hands of criminals. The Chair Board of Trustees, Amnesty International Nigeria, Awa Musa Rafsanjani, have showed his displeasure over the less attention given by authorities to women and girls who go through sufferings in the hands of criminals. He further called on all stakeholders to work together to push for women's human rights.
To welcome you to this very important but silent issue that our women and girls have been going through in the hand of terrorists and criminals in Nigeria. Unfortunately, not much attention has been given to these inhuman conditions that our girls and women find themselves in Nigeria.
While faulting the Nigerian authorities on the failure to protect its citizens, which led to the Chibok girls' adoption and various crimes, the director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, has urged that the government take a different turn in addressing the nation's insecurities.
The failure of the Nigerian authorities is the reason why we even have Boko Haram, is the reason why we have people displaced, is the reason why Boko Haram was capable of going into homes and abducting young girls as young as 8, 9, and subjecting them to sexual slavery. Our recommendation is that government should do something and rescue these girls.
Insecurity has been one of the biggest challenges in Nigeria, as it poses a significant threat to Nigerian stability and development as a nation. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the AM News returns, South Africa's new parliament meets Friday to elect president. This and other stories coming right after this break. You stay with us.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. On the foreign scene, an aircraft carrying Malawi's Vice President Carlos Chilima and 9 others has gone missing. A statement from the President's office has said the Malawi Defense Force aircraft went off the radar after it left the capital Lilongwe on Monday morning. After being informed of the incident, Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera cancelled his scheduled flight to the Bahamas. The president ordered a search and rescue operation after aviation officials were unable to contact the aircraft. Authorities have said South Africa's newly elected parliament will convene for the first time on Friday this week, as political parties scramble to form a coalition after general elections produced no outright winner. Lawmakers in the 400-seat National Assembly will be called to appoint a speaker and start the process of electing the country's president, a task that could prove radically different than usual this year. For the first time since the advent of democracy in 1994, President Cyril Ramaphosa's African National Congress, ANC, lost its absolute parliamentary majority in the May 29 vote. Tanzanian authorities have expressed optimism that more Nigerians will invest in the country, saying it would create employment opportunities for citizens and boost the country's economy. Addressing newsmen in Lagos, Chairman Board of Directors of Tanzania Investment Center, Dr. Benelet Mahenge, said the discussion that was held between the High Commission of the United Republic of Tanzania through the Tanzania Investment Center and members of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry was focused on investing profitably. In business, the National Bureau of Statistics has stated in a new report that refined petroleum products and agricultural food inputs constituted the major items imported by Nigerians into the country in the first quarter of 2024. This was as total imports for first quarter of 2024 stood at 12.64 trillion naira, representing a 39.65% increase from 9.5 trillion naira in the fourth quarter 2023 and a 95.53% rise from 6.47 trillion naira in first quarter 2023. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, in its foreign trade statistics, disclosed that the import of raw materials by manufacturers gulped 1.5 trillion naira. Citizens spent 920.54 billion naira to bring in agricultural goods. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has refuted media reports alleging that it inflated the fuel subsidy payments by 3.3 trillion naira. A report claimed that a forensic audit conducted by global accounting firm KPMG had uncovered a significant discrepancy in the fuel subsidy claims made by the National Oil Company. According to reports, the audit revealed that Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited inflated its fuel subsidy claims by a staggering 3.3 trillion naira. The audit, which will cover 2015 to 2021, aims to verify the authenticity of the subsidy claims. As compressed natural gas, compressed CNG, is set to become a permanent fixture in Nigeria's energy landscape. The program director and chief executive of the Presidential CNG Initiative, also called PCNGI, Michael Oluwagbemi, says government's plan is to implement smart regulations that promote growth and provides clear and predictable rules for safe investment. He reaffirmed government's commitment to safety during the transition, while reiterating its commitment to transitioning to cleaner, safer, and more reliable fuel options under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. A two-day fair that connects producers and buyers of art and craft, body care, and general lifestyle items has been held in Abuja. The fair, organized by Inside Track, saw shoppers from different backgrounds came out in their numbers to collect items of interest. Fatime Umar was there for Global Television.
This is the 34th edition of the fair, and buyers were caught moving stand to stand in a bid to find their choice items. Those we spoke to highlighted their products and shared their opinions on the fair.
Well, but when you come to buying of art, it's a little bit slow because, I'm sorry to use the word, we here in Africa, no, not really Africa, Nigeria, we don't really value art like that as we are expecting it to be. But I believe with time to come, it will pick up, because places like Lagos, yeah, they work on more on art.
So we have teas from around the world that are handcrafted by me, and we have like the chai karak, which is predominantly had around the Middle Eastern area, Qatar, Bahrain, you know, those places. And what the tea does depends on the spices that is infused in the teas.
This book vendor says Nigeria's reading culture has improved, a situation she believes has resulted in sales increase.
Sales is good. Yes, I sell a lot of books in this fair because some of the customers are expatriates, so they know the value of reading. Apart from that, the Nigerians still read. I think the people have gone back to reading. Yes, because in times past it wasn't like that, but it's beginning to look up these days because I've been selling books for a long time.
Organizers of Inside Track said 2 more editions of the fair have been scheduled to hold before the end of the year. Fatime Umar reporting for Global Television News.
On the entertainment scene, controversial social media critic Martin Ose, popularly known as Very Darkman, has regained his freedom after spending over 2 weeks in detention. Ose was billed to be released 1 week after his arraignment by the police for cyber stalking and bullying on May 22, 2024. A viral video on X Monday shows Very Darkman walking into his fans after he was set free. In sports, a near-to-be tragedy struck the Nigerian Professional Football League over the weekend as Doma United FC players was reportedly involved in a road accident while returning to Gombe after a match. According to the report by MPFL News via X, the incident occurred along the Makurdi-Lafia Road, leaving several players injured, though no lives were lost. Super Eagles and Napoli striker Victor Osimhen has staved off competition from Victor Boniface, Robert Mizo of Bayelsa United and Emeka Obiora of Eyimba to emerge the striker of the year and king of the pitch for the 3rd straight year, making him the first player to achieve this feat on the platform of the prestigious Nigeria Pitch Awards. Africa Women's Footballer of the Year, Asisat Oshoala, was voted the queen of the pitch ahead of Rashidat Ajigbade of Atletico Madrid Femenino and Chiamaka Nadozie of Paris FG goalkeeper. In a highly anticipated international fixture, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have unveiled their starting lineup for the clash against Benin Republic in the 4th round of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Head coach Finidi George on Monday named Terem Mofi and Ademola Lookman to spearhead the attack, while Victor Boniface has been placed on the bench. And that's it on the Global AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching. See you again.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point, this is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momadou. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely because
that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight,
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point.
We appreciate you staying with us, everyone. Still Global Morning here on Global Television. It's quite a wet day in Abuja already this morning, even though we understand that the rains are heavier in some parts of the city than it is in others. But then it shouldn't come as a surprise because one of the stories that came through yesterday was that the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, that is NIMET, had predicted that yesterday will be very sunny across the city and in other parts of the country. Also talked about how that it's going to be quite some rain today and then it stretches into tomorrow, Wednesday. But we'll just keep our eye out and see what the weather and the elements are going to look like. A while ago, we're going to bring you more like a summary of business reports, but then here is Kikelemo Okere's updates.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. The euro slid against the naira in the official market on Monday after French President Emmanuel Macron called a snap election following a defeat in the European Union vote by the far right. Recent price action revealed that the euro is now losing major support against the naira currency, leading to euro versus naira price to lean bearish. Growing ambiguity surrounding the upcoming French snap election is affecting the euro. The naira strengthened below 1,600 naira to euro level in the black market as traders reevaluate and moderate demand pressure on the euro currency. It closed above 1,631 naira to euro on Friday. The dollar also shows strength against the euro currency due to the geopolitical implication of the far-right grip on power in euro. Additionally, the dollar outlook is favorable as summer draws near. The euro is predicted to break above 1.10 against the dollar and is more likely to drop below 1.05 support level. The euro plummeted to a 21-month low of $1.05 in early morning London trading and dropped 50 basis points to a one-month low. Geregu Power PLC has forecasted a profit after tax of 9.9 billion naira for the third quarter of 2024, representing a 148% year-on-year increase from the 3.98 billion naira net income posted in the third quarter of 2023. According to the company's cash flow forecast for third quarter 2024, it is projecting a revenue of 42.5 billion naira during the quarter, representing a 102% year-on-year growth from the 21.05 billion naira revenue posted the third quarter of 2023. This projected revenue growth stemmed from an anticipated cash receipt of 15.8 billion naira from the energy and capacity charges during the quarter. For proper context, throughout 2023, the company posted a total receipt of 31.1 billion naira from capacity charges. The company anticipates a 101% year-on-year increase in cost of sales to 21.9 billion naira from 10.3 billion naira in the third quarter of 2023. For Geregu Power, the major contributor to its cost of sales is LNG supply and transportation. The value of Nigerian crude oil export earning increased by 50.2% in the first quarter of 2024 to 15.4 trillion naira, according to data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. The earning quoted in naira showed a rise from 10.3 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2023 to 15.4 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024. During the same period, the data highlighted that 88% of Nigerians' exports to other nations were earning from crude oil, emphasizing once again the predominant role of oil as the primary exported commodity and main source of foreign exchange for the country. Furthermore, in 1 year, the value of crude oil export surged by 200.79% from 5.1 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2023. The total exports of Nigeria in the first quarter of 2024 rose by 51% to 19.1 trillion naira compared to the 12.6 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2023. On a year-to-year basis, the total exports increased by 95.47% from 6.4 trillion naira. The oil sector, the major contributor to the Nigerian total export, made up 88% of the total export. Crude oil exports were valued at 15.4 trillion naira, while non-oil exports were valued at 3.6 trillion naira. However, the non-oil commodities were valued at 1.7 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2024. The data also shows a slight improvement in the naira value of the total non-oil export from 1.09 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2023 to 1.7 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024. The Central Bank of Nigeria has reassured members of the banking public of the safety of their deposits and the banking system resilience. This is coming on the heels of the claims in the certain quarters about the stability of some banks in the wake of Heritage Bank PLC license revocation. Contrary to some claims, the bank's acting director of Corporate Communication Department, Hakama Sidi Ali, in a statement faulted claims that the CBN was considering revoking the operating license of Fidelity, Polaris, Wema and Unity Bank. She also clarified that a circular issued by the bank on January 10, 2024, notifying the public about the dissolution of the Board of Union, Keystone and Polaris Bank is currently being circulated as though it was issued on June 10, 2024. In a chat with newsmen, Sidi Ali emphasized that Heritage Bank case was isolated, adding that allegation of further revocation of license prior to completion of the bank recapitalization exercise were mere fabrication aimed at creating panic within the system. She said customers, particularly those of Heritage Bank, need not to worry about the safety of their deposits, adding that the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation had commenced payment to the bank's issued operators. The Apex Bank therefore urged the public to continue their regular banking activities without concern, dismissing any false reports regarding the health of the specific deposit money bank. She confirmed that the CBN, with its robust regulatory framework, is proactively ensuring the stability of Nigerian financial system, thereby guaranteeing the safety of depositors' funds in all Nigerian financial institutions, while reiterating the assurance of the Governor Olayemi Cardoso that the recapitalization of Bank in Nigeria was intended to bolster the banking system and safeguard the sector against risk. Sidi Ali also urged all stakeholders to cooperate in ensuring the success of the process, which she noted will be for the overall growth of the Nigerian economy. Customers are therefore encouraged to proceed with their transaction as usual, as the CBN is committed to ensuring the safety of the banking system. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Many thanks, Kikelomo Okeri, for that report on business and the update. Now we'll move to our newspaper review, where we look at the front pages of the newspapers and the big stories we get to discuss. Our first point of call this morning would be, we have quite a number of papers this morning. Our next point of call this morning would be the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have 10th National Assembly, 24 senators have no bill in 1 year. Banks borrow 10.9 trillion naira from CBN in 1 month as deposits rise 120%. NDDC proposes 1.911 trillion naira as 2024 budget. PDP membership, 25 lawmakers, Rivers government disagree over court order. Algon rejects 62,000 naira minimum wage. On the big story, where we have 24 senators have no bill in 1 year, the writer there says 85 senators sponsor 279 bills. Bamidele leads with 23, Barau 17, Sani Musa 8. Umahi sponsored 1 bill before accepting ministerial appointments. Reps propose single tenure of 6 years for president and governors. Tinubu replaces IGP Arashe with Agungu as chairman, Police Service Commission. Minimum wage. SGF receives tripartite committee report. Sanwo-Olu emerges chairman of Southwest Governors Forum. And lastly, on the Vanguard, we have sports. Cheaters rubbish Finidis Eagles. Okay, that's all we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper.
Right, you see, there's this story here, and just beneath the star story, reps propose single tenure of 6 years for presidents, governors. You know, this attempt was also made under former President Goodluck Jonathan to say, look, can we not review our current standing, so to speak? I mean, that means take a look at this, second look at the Constitution and say, look, rather than allow a president or a governor to stay in office for up to 8 years, depending on whether they win second term in office or not, why don't you do a single term straight, all right, of 6 years for presidents and governors, in such a way that you come into office, you know you're doing 6 years, barring all litigation and whatever in between, all right, that sort of thing. Some person said, well, the former President Jonathan was being self-serving and so on and so forth. But apparently we're back to that conversation now, because we understand that a cluster of House of Reps members led by Ugochinyere, Ikenga Ugochinyere from Imo State, Idiato South, is now saying, look, we've got to, go this path in such a way that beyond saying the governor or the president should stay in office for 6 years, single tenure, which means you don't come back. You know, when you've exhausted your 6-year period in office, you're done. It should also be such that we should have 2 vice presidents. So if Queen becomes the president, she's got to have 2 vice presidents, one from the south, another from the north. And then we rotate the presidency in such a way that we will not hear one region of the country saying, well, we are being alienated, we are being marginalized, we are not allowed to produce the president, and so on and so forth. It will go round. That's what they are proposing. But then it's an open debate. It has just started. We understand the bill has passed first reading on the floor of the House of Representatives. It's actually a bundle of bills, about 6 of them, right? But let's see how much we can push this narrative, because they have a valid argument. Of course, whether or not that's going to scale through ultimately is a different kettle of fish. Their argument is that when we do all of this in the final analysis, it will help us stabilize our democratic process. Plus, it will become a basis for us to significantly cut cost of governance, because that's one of the things, to always use the president's word, not allowing Nigerians to breathe, even the governments, because of the bulk of spending that we have to do. Yesterday, somebody said in Nigeria, the governor of the president appoints an SA, the SA has an SA, his SA has an SA, his SA has an SA. So you just have this litany of appointments, and you're wondering, what value do they bring? I think people are even now tired of talking about what legislators, particularly at the federal level, earn. So that one is no longer even an issue of debate. It's clear now, because we have even seen few senators come to also express concern over this sort of practice, including former senator from Kaduna State, Shehu Sani, lending his voice to this conversation. So we have moved past that, not as if it has changed for the better. We're now saying that we need to watch how we appoint. Look at even governors. Elections are around the corner. A governor is appointing 2,000 aides. He calls them SSAs. What are they doing? You appoint 1,000, you appoint 2,000. Let's even say their salary is 100,000, for example. Do the math and see what it comes to. 100,000.
250,000.
Exactly. But the same government wakes up and tells you he can't pay minimum wage of 62,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we say let's bring transparency to the dialogue, that's what we're talking about. You can pay 2,000 SSAs, over 100,000 every month for the next 6 months, for the next 1 year, because you're desperate. You're bent on winning second term in office. But you can't pay civil servants who have Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. We appreciate your understanding. We had a bit of a hitch with our audio there, but it has now been resolved. So let's take you back to the papers. By this time, we're looking at the Daily Trust's newspaper for you. Just immediately below the nameplates of Daily Trust, today's issue says 30 reps advocate 6-year single term for president, governors. Hoodlums jump fence, steal Salaram in FCT Council. Bandits kill 4 officers, 22 others in Katsina.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on global televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide.
Thank you, everyone. Again, we apologize for that hitch there with our audio, but we're going to the papers for you straight away. And we're just looking at This Day newspaper a while ago, I should say Daily Trust newspaper. All right, beneath the nameplates, of course, we're just going to look at a big story there. Minimum wage, we won't accept 100,000 naira labor. That much they have made clear in the last couple of days. 2 riders, or 3 riders, I should say, accompany that headline. Ajero in Geneva says no strike for now. We understand a handful of the labor leaders are attending the International Labor Organization's events in Geneva, Switzerland. So that again has brought a bit of, for want of better words, distraction. But then labor has assured that there's no strike for now. Another writer says LGs can't pay 62,000 naira argon. Suspense as tripartite committee submits reports to Tinubu. Okay, let's look at the left end of today's issue of the Daily Trust. Aircraft carrying Malawi vice president missing. Search on the way. We understand the president of Malawi had to cancel his flight to the Bahamas just to ensure that we find closure to these very sad developments, all right? Okay, we'll keep an eye out for you on that story. But we have next paper, Daily Independent.
Yes, on the front page of the Daily Independent that we have now, it says, reps seek single tenure of 6 years for president and governors. The writer there says rotation of presidency among 6 geopolitical zones. National Assembly invites stakeholders over airport concession. Writer there says to unions. Writer there says unions vow to resist airport concession, unless the story, we have the story right underneath that headline. National minimum wage, Labour may resume strike as deadline to FG ends today. Rejects 62,000 naira offer, insists on 250,000 naira. Tripartite committee submits reports to SGF. Southwest governors adopt common agenda for regional prosperity. You find that story on page 7. Sanwo-Olu becomes forum's chairman. Southeast among highest in human trafficking. According to NAPTIP, that's on page 6 of the Daily Independent. Again, CBN reassures on safety of banks. Federal government, states, local governments share 1.143 trillion naira May 2024 revenue. Tinubu appoints ex-GIG Arungun chairman of PSC. What appears to also be a big story here says PDP silent as court declares pro-Wike lawmakers members. Court didn't say assemblymen are PDP members, according to Rivers AG. CSO petitions NJC over Rivers High Court judgment. Lastly, on the Daily Independent, aircraft carrying Malawi's vice president missing. That's all we have on the front page of the Daily Independent.
And that takes us straight up to the Guardian newspaper. This morning, We begin with the big story for you on the front page of today's Guardian newspaper. Piecemeal restructuring, raw as House revives single 6-year tenure bill after 4 failed attempts. So this is the 5th one. Hopefully, it turns out well for Nigerians. Phase out electricity subsidy, 36 governors tell FG. 4.8 million persons at risk of acute hunger. That's according to FAO. Bandits shoot soldiers, kill several persons in Niger. Power crisis deepens as Gencos receive 4.7% of invoiced amounts. That is quite insignificant. Labour insists on 250,000 naira as state governors earn 6.71 trillion naira in 1 year. Embattled Rivers lawmakers remain in PDP alt rules. Youth protest TFCC's raid. Hey, excuse me. Those are the headlines we have for you this morning. So let's take a look at the Punch newspaper.
Big story on the Punch. Smuggled Nigerian petrol floods West African market. Sells 1,700 naira per litre. Rider says petrol hits 1,672 naira per litre in Benin. Cameroon, 2,062 naira. Liberia, 1,428 naira. And Mali, 2,128 naira. 280,000 litres intercepted in Adamawa, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Borno, Taraba, and Ogun states. Above the nameplate, minimum wage. Labour insists on 250,000 naira, awaits Tinubu's verdict. NLC president berates governors, says president will do the right thing. Federal government services debt with $2.2 billion, I beg your pardon, in 5 months, according to CBN. Tinubu removes Arashe as PSC chair, appoints Arungu. You find that story on page 29 of the Punch. Southwest Governors Forum insists on state police, elects Sanwo-Olu as chair. Reps propose rotational presidency, 6-year single term. Police foil American suicide attempt on Third Mainland Bridge. 2.7 billion naira fraud. Ex-director testifies against Sirika. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
Time to kick in some sports stories this morning from Punch Sports Extra. Okay, let's begin from the top of the nameplates. Lazio closing in on Dele Bashiru. That's the top left corner. Xavi eyeing Premier League job. Minister summons NFF over Eagles' poor display. We will miss another World Cup. Fans laments Eagles' defeats in Abidjan. 2026 World Cup qualifier, Benin 2, Nigeria 1. That's quite interesting, and it's actually, for many people, a basis for which the new head coach of the Super Eagles, Finidi George, to be assessed. Others say it's too early in the day, all right, to begin to do an assessment. Okay, Barca offer 8.5 million. Let's see what that stands at now. Pounds plus Rafinha for Mano. Okay, Madrid to snap Club World Cup. City wants Alonso to replace Pep. Valencia fans jailed for Vini Jr. abuse. All right, what's more? Says additional relieves long NCAA debut season. Ophélie eyes on Olympics place after a Grand Prix. Paris 2024 boxers resume camp in Uyo. All right, so that's the much we have from the Punch Sports Extra this morning for you.
Our next point of call will be This Day newspaper. Above the nameplates, we have Southwest governors adopt common agenda for region's prosperity. Economic integration, security, food production, top priority at meeting. Backstate Police, Sanwo-Olu emerges forum's chairman. After 35 years, Atedo Peterside steps down from Standard Bank board. FAC disburses 1.143 trillion naira as Federation account grossed over 2.324 trillion naira in May. Lawmakers seek rotational presidency, 6 years, single term for president, governors in proposed bill. Labour's deadline for new minimum wage expires today. LCCI calls for flexibility in negotiation. States urge federal government to gradually phase out electricity subsidies in power sector, saying money spent on inefficient costs. These are the stories on the front page of This Day newspaper.
Time to turn to the New Telegraph newspaper now, but then we'll start with the star story for you. It says, Reps seek rotational 6-year single term for president, governors, 2 VPs. That's on the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. Right. Still on the New Telegraph newspaper, above the nameplates, CBN external debt servicing gulped $2.19 billion in 5 months. Allocations, FG states LG's share 1.14 trillion naira for May. Okay, then that's a big story. Has a writer here. It says, want all elections in one day, mandatory electronic transmission of results. Sounds like a radical set of reforms being proposed here. Southwest governors condemn agitations for Oodua Republic. Sanwo-Olu replaces Akeredolu as chair. 27 Rivers lawmakers, still PDP members, call to rules. On the right end of the New Telegraph today, right corner of the front page, aircraft carrying Malawi vice president goes missing. Tinubu removes Arase, appoints Aragungu as new PSC chair. Shedu, now NPTF boss. Customs intercepts 129,185 liters of fuel worth of 90.5 million naira in Northwest. Coming to the foot of the front page this morning, a minimum wage labor awaits Tinubu's executive bill to determine next line of action. The writer says SGF receives tripartite panel reports. Okay, and then the interesting read is at the very foot of the paper this morning. Evening physical activity lowers blood sugar levels study, so you want to read that up as well. But then we'll take it up a little above, just beneath the nameplates. Foreign airlines return to full capacity, offer cheaper fares, more seats, seek more frequencies, expansion in Nigeria. You can read up details for yourself on page 2 of today's New Telegraph newspaper. Alaafin's tool, I have no anointed candidate, says Makinde elevates 12 Oyo chiefs. Alleged 2.8 billion naira fraud. EFCC opens case against Sirika daughter. Others. Insecurity, terrorist kingpin killed, 2 soldiers shot in Niger. Southeast among highest in human trafficking, says NAPTIP. All right, that's what we have for you this morning on the newspaper review segment. So we're taking a quick break now. When we return, we'll get to the conversation on the road for you. Do stay with us.
busy road, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Udi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momadou. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Is the desk?
Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. Our first conversation we are putting on the road real quick, so we can use it as a medium to look at where Nigeria is today in terms of our democratic experience. Also use that as a basis to assess whether or not we have done well for ourselves as a government, as a people, or as an economy. It's very important we do that, especially in light of all the challenges we're grappling with today as a national entity. I'm joined by Abdul Wahab Ekehide, Public Affairs Analyst. I'm sure I got your second name right.
Yes, Ekehide.
Ekehide. Thank you for coming this Tuesday morning. We appreciate it.
Very much.
Yeah, so let's talk about Nigeria's democracy. Some people say it's nascent democracy. Is that correct?
At 25? You know, at 25, good morning, Nigerians. Let me start. At 25, we can no longer call ourselves nascent because at 18, you're already an adult, so you take full responsibilities
for your life,
for whatever you do to yourselves and to the society. So nascent, no, Nigeria can no longer be called a nascent democracy. We are a full-blown democracy in Nigeria right now. At 25 years, yes, we can call ourselves nascent.
It's interesting, but let's talk about the transition that happened in 1999.
Yes.
Some people say it was horribly done, and they say that has also become a factor in as being part of the problems that we are having today. Is that true?
Well, if you say so, yes. If you know that the military actually never wanted to leave the seat of power. There was a lot of pressure that drove, I would say they were hurriedly, they were prepared to actually hand over the reins. If you remember the days of Abacha, he even formed political parties, he formed two, and he wanted to transform himself to even the civilian president of this country. Right. We are here. So the military were actually not really ready to say, let us leave. But because of pressure from within and outside the country, they had to actually hurriedly leave. And you see, that is why if you look at the 1999 Constitution, it's just a combination of different constitutions we have had, and they still put that unitary kind of system where you give all the powers to the man at the head of the helm of affairs. And that is actually a challenge to us. And one of the proponents and advocates of the fact that our constitution is our challenge we have in this country. And if we want to move ahead, you see this panel beating here and there will solve the problem.
By panel beating, you're talking about the amendments.
Amend here, amend this one, amend that. And just one mistake of amendment can render the whole amendment useless. If you remember the days of Senator Ken Nnamani at the time of Obasanjo, there were very good amendments that would be made. But because of the clause of third term, the whole amendment died. You understand? So I will advocate that, look, let us truly have a constitution that is truly Nigerian. That is why you say, because the preamble of the constitution says, we the people. When did we sit as a people? The constitution we are using now was written by the military. So it is high time that we write a democratic constitution where people will be brought together like a sovereign conference, or if you like, call it a constitutional conference, and then people will be brought from different parts of this country. Let us agree. The first question we should ask ourselves, do we want to be one Nigeria? Because that's a challenge, because you are hearing some separatists, they want to leave. Do we want to live? Do we want to be one Nigeria? If we agree that yes, we want to be one Nigeria, then we cannot ask ourselves, how do we want to live with ourselves? And then we put it down. That will now be a true constitution written by the people, even though everybody cannot come to sit, but people will be represented, even from the local government.
Are you advocating a referendum?
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what we should do. So that I tell you, so okay, you had about 30-something lawmakers yesterday. They are coming with a proposal. And if you look at that proposal, they are beautiful. It's a beautiful proposal, because looking at the kind of diversity we have in this country and people complaining of marginalization, I think that idea they are bringing us, in fact, that was even discussed at the 24